Welcome back to the Vegans Who Lift podcast. We are your hosts. I am Brooke Sellers, otherwise known as Miss Meatless Muscle, and I am with John Thomas, the Bodybuilding Vegan. What is up, John?
What's up, dude? It has been the world's longest week for me. I am a little under the weather. We drove from Tampa to New York last Monday in one day, and then we drove back yesterday and the day before. We broke it up on the way back. So I've done a few thousand miles. I've done anywhere from 20 to 30,000 steps. I've been to the gym 6 times since the last time we spoke. It's been nuts. A lot of good vegan food. But yeah, so I'm going to do my best to bring my A game today, even though I want to go take a big fat nap. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a while since we caught up because we didn't have the academy last week and I was sick. So it's been a lot. Yeah, I was sick. Now you're sick. Everybody's sick.
At least 10% of my clients have tested COVID positive in the last week, which is just nuts. I have not
a ton of sick clients.
Yeah. So yeah, we have the academy today, last in-person session. So that's pretty cool. Excited to send these bright, young, educated minds out into the world and let them go coach some other vegans. So congrats to all of you. Hopefully some of them listen to this podcast as well. I guess we could jump into wins of the week.
Wins of the week, yes. You say yours because I'm still thinking of mine.
All right. Well, an easy one is I woke up today. That's a good win.
That's a good one.
I think I'm really proud of both, I guess I'll say myself, that's cool to say, and my clients, because I had Clarissa compete this past weekend. The weekend prior, I had Mai competing. The weekend prior to that, I had Javier competing. So I've had a client in a show every week for a while now. And it's really cool to see them do their thing and to be able to support them on really a difficult journey. It's not easy to compete. So I guess that would be my win of the week. Oh, I turned 32, so I had a birthday. I guess that could be another win of this last week. I lived again. Got to spend some time with Allie and my family and explore New York. So lots of wins, lots of good things, but it's definitely run me under the bus because I need some good sleep.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that's probably part of why you're sick too. Is just you've been spread really, really thin. And you know how it is. Like your body will force you to slow down even when you don't want to slow down.
Yeah.
But
it could just be that I'm a sickly vegan. You know, vegans, they miss on so many nutrients. And
yeah, you didn't get your B12. God. Better go eat an egg. That'll save you. That'll bring you back to life.
Magically. I'll be throwing up. All right. So did you have any time to think of your wins of the week?
Yes. Okay. My win. I don't know if I've ever talked about my parasite on the podcast yet. I don't know if I've even talked about that. But yeah, I ended up running another GI map this year because I was still having some GI issues, and we were thinking that I was having SIBO coming back because typically SIBO is kind of one of those things that, yes, it goes away, but it kind of hangs out in remission and you can always get it again. But luckily it wasn't SIBO because that would have been a total pain in the ass and just awful to have to go through that again. It was actually a parasite, which is still a pain in the ass. But I've made a huge improvement in just like the past maybe like 2 weeks. It's kind of crazy. And the whole parasite protocol is about 12 weeks. I was on this really hardcore medication for like the first 2 weeks, and then I was able to come off that, and now I'm just on like natural herbs and supplements, and my coach is helping me through it. But it's like, it is insane. I was thinking for so long, like, how could this parasite be causing all of this and be like I don't know, just I really underestimated how much a parasite could really impact your body and your overall well-being, but it's just insane. I mean, my recovery has improved, my strength has gone up like exponentially in the gym, my energy is so much better, my cognition, my productivity, my mood, libido, I mean, like freaking everything. And it was like losing weight. I mean, you know, this for me has been an absolute uphill battle this like the entire like 2 years since I last time I stepped on stage. I like no matter what I did, I couldn't lose weight, and now it's like falling off of me like easy. Like I can like this weekend I went and I just ate whatever I wanted. Like I did not track a thing. I just had fun, and I lost a pound the next day, and I'm like, holy shit, like finally this is the body that I know. Like no, I'm not saying it's easy. It's just I mean I am getting 13,000 steps a day and I'm still eating really clean, but it's like my efforts are actually making a difference now, whereas before I could just kill myself and it wouldn't I wouldn't budge. So it's been really crazy how much this parasite was playing a role, but yeah, I'm just really happy to be making a huge turnaround.
That's phenomenal, dude. I'm happy to hear that. All right, I got to ask questions because I feel like other people ask questions. One, how did you find out you had a parasite?
So I had to run what is called a GI map. So basically, it's this fancy gastrointestinal test, and you can do it at home. You don't need a prescription. You can order it online. This is actually what I did through my coach, and that's how I got my answers. It's so funny because like every doctor I've ever seen has been absolutely useless, but my bodybuilding coach has literally saved my life. It's crazy. But so the GI mapping showed that I did have a parasite, but the other thing was it shows you a lot of stuff. So it shows you like your intestinal inflammatory markers. So if you have IBS, if you have inflammation in your intestines, it'll show you. If you have blood in your stool, it'll show you like how much of your good bacteria, all your good bacteria, each one, how much you have, if it's too much, if it's too little. If you have any sort of like E. coli, salmonella, anything that could be causing like a GI issue. And mine was like absolutely spotless except for the parasite, which was actually a really good thing. That means that I mean, really my gut has pretty much made a full recovery after SIBO.
Wow. Okay. Furthermore, more questions. How would you get the test? You can order it online or?
Yes, you could go online. It's the specific test. It's by Diagnostic Solutions. That's the best one that you can get. And I think Vital Coaching, but it's VIDAL coaching.com. It used to be a big supplement company or something, but anyways, they've changed the name. But you can order the GI mapping there, and it'll tell you basically everything that's going on in your GI system.
And is it through blood or stool?
It's a stool test. Yep, you gotta poop in a cup at home, and yep, and then you put it in this little bottle, and you get FedEx to pick it up, and they take it off.
Here's my poop in a bag.
It's very weird.
All right. I mean, I've done weird things for bodybuilding. I've done an enema for bodybuilding. That was a fun experience, I guess. It was an experience. Okay, well, cool. And then does it just spit out results like you are E. coli negative, you are parasite positive, or?
It's really cool. I should send you my results because you would probably think it was really interesting, and your clients you probably have some clients who may need a GI map. Yeah, so it takes, I think, about a week or so to get your results back, but it will, it'll tell you everything. It'll tell you even how much of the parasite, like how high the strain is, or, like your good bacteria, for example, it'll tell you. I don't know. It's kind of hard. I'm not really an expert on like the billion CFUs or whatever it is, but it'll tell you like the exact population. Like if you have like 4 billion or 3 billion. Like, it's really cool. But yeah, so it'll tell you like any worms or any parasites. There's a long list. Even antibiotic resistant. If you're antibiotic resistant, it'll tell you which antibiotics that you are resistant to. So it's pretty fascinating. I love GI maps. They're fun. I wish they were cheap because I would do one all the time, but they're like, it's like $380, something like that. So it's certainly not cheap, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's basically what a good bodybuilding coach does, though, is they narrow down the variables. You had already pretty much done everything else to narrow it down. So that's the next step. Maybe not the first thing to start with, but definitely something to have in your back pocket if you can't figure it out. Yeah. Woo. So, all right, last question, then we can move on. What is the protocol to get rid of a parasite? What does that involve?
So, unlike SIBO, I don't have to do any dietary changes other than I just have to be really careful with raw foods. Just because that's most likely where I got the parasite, since I don't consume any animal products. It probably came from some sort of vegetable or water. It's hard to say. We'll never know. But mostly it's just I had to take ivermectin, which is actually kind of a popular drug. A lot of people use it to prevent COVID, but it's actually really powerful. It won a Nobel Peace Prize for killing like different parasites and worms and stuff like that. So that one was a little bit more hardcore. That one made me feel like shit. So like the first 2 weeks were really rough. I was just like dragging ass. Could hardly work out. I just felt terrible. I could hardly eat, which is not like me. Not like me. If I'm not eating, that's a problem. Like, somebody needs to call an ambulance. So I had to take that, and then I have to take berberine with my first meal and my last meal, and Alimex allicin, which is basically like garlic extract, which is really, really powerful and boosts your immune system. So I take that with every single meal. And then I'm like looking at my supplements on my counter. This other one called GI Detox, and it's got a bunch of crap in it. But it's mostly like activated charcoal. And I don't know exactly, but you take it an hour before you eat or any other supplements or something, because it basically just grabs everything in your system and like just kind of detoxes it and pulls it all out. I don't know. My coach explained it to me, but so I take that, and then after I'm at like the halfway point now, and then I switch from the activated charcoal supplement to something called like mimosa seed or something like that. I'll have to look it up. But again, it's another all natural herbal supplement that is just supposed to be really good for killing parasites and, you know, just not also harming your good bacteria. It just gets rid of the bad stuff. So I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that's it. And L-glutamine every morning.
That makes sense. I don't know expert levels on all these, but I can take a shot in the dark. Berberine will help with your insulin levels, which might slow down the ability of that parasite to grow, I would think. The allicin in garlic, I think it's like also, I know it's heart healthy, but I think garlic can also be like antifungal or like something along those lines. So that probably plays into it. The activated charcoal, interesting. I used to keep fish tanks, and they would give you activated charcoal to like clear out your water if anything bad got in there. If you needed to remove medication, like if you have sick fish, you can dose them to heal them, and then you want to add snails to your tank. Well, the medication will kill the snails, so you put activated charcoal, it clears that out. Also, I believe if you like overdose on drugs, that's one of the things they do to heal you, is they like pump your stomach full of activated charcoal and they pull it out. Might turn your poop black. I could be wrong there, but I was thinking it might do that. And then I forget the last one you said, but yeah, okay, so I can kind of see how they all play together there.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much everything. You hit right. You hit the nail on the head. Berberine is also a powerful, kind of like garlic. It's like one of those anti-parasitic, antifungal kind of. It has a ton of really good properties. But yeah, so it definitely helps with blood sugar, and because that's an issue with gut issues as well. As like typically people do have insulin sensitivity issues, which mine has been okay. I've been taking, it's been like 95 most days. So which is kind of high for me, fasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you hydrating and drinking any or having any salt before you check your levels?
I'm not having any salt. No.
Try that. Try that like tomorrow when you check. Like hydrate and put like a little bit of salt in your water. It could possibly give you a more accurate result. If it's still high, then it's probably high. But
I'm gonna try that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it has to be off a little bit because my A1C is like a 4.8. Like my A1C is always low. So it doesn't really make sense why it's reading so high, especially when it's usually in like the 70s. So maybe it's just that.
Could be. I know that some people, and I think I'm one of them. I've checked my blood sugar like extended periods of time, 6 times a day, and it'll be high in the morning, but it doesn't really get much higher throughout the day, even after meals. And I know that like cortisol release in the morning to wake you up can also raise your blood sugar. So some people are a little naturally higher in the mornings, but your A1C is a much more reliable measure. So if that's good, then you're most likely good. All right. Well, we have talked about a lot of other stuff, not bodybuilding. Do we want to do question game or do we just want to jump into bodybuilding?
Oh crap! I don't even have questions, so let's just jump into bodybuilding.
All right, bodybuilding it is. We will find some more questions. I think I should make some because I didn't
Oh
really
God, I'm
contribute.
scared.
Oh yeah. What would you rather eat? No. Okay, so let's just I guess we could talk about bodybuilding. What do we want to see in the sport? What do we want to see that's different or just
I was thinking maybe some things. Yeah, just a future of the sport. What would we like to see? If there's any like controversies we want to address, what kind of changes we would like to see. All of that.
I just recently went to one of my client shows and he did the PCA. And I think it's
That's
similar
natural,
for
right?
Actually it's not.
Okay.
And that was something that surprised me because I get there and I thought it was a natural show. And then I'm looking around, I'm like, there's some big people here. They are not natural. Like one guy was bigger than me, which surprised me. That's somewhat rare. They actually let me into the show for free. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I found out later that they thought I was a competitor. And I was just like, I'm flattered, guys, but damn, I should not be on stage right now. I'm like 30 pounds over. I liked, though, at this show, they did the prejudging and the finals kind of all in one go. Like, I think the prejudging started around 11, and then they had like a lunch break, and then they came back at like 1 for the quote-unquote night show. I like that. I think it makes it easier on the competitors, on their families. You don't necessarily have to stay an extra night because like normally you check in on a Friday and then you show up in the morning on Saturday for prejudging and then you show up again in the evening on Saturday for the night show. And if you're in bikini, you might not get on stage till 8, 9, or 10 at a bigger show. And then it's like you're not going to drive back or fly back that night. So then you have to stay an extra night. So I kind of like it all getting done earlier in the day. Made it easier for me as a coach too. I could check out and be done. Don't have to sit around and wait until 6, 7, 8 at night just to make sure that everybody's okay and we've done all we can. But that's something I'd like to see. What about you?
I think that's a good one. That would be really nice if especially because I mean, switching to bikini, like, gosh, we get out so late and it's crazy. I had a friend who competed at a national show and I mean, she didn't even get done until way past 10 o'clock. And that's just so late. And it's so hard on the athletes. And I know they have to do what they have to do, but yeah, I definitely feel like that would be a good strategy, at least at some shows, if there's not like a pro-am. Yeah. I think for me, I think this is a change that is already occurring, but I hope it continues to influence the space and become bigger. And I think that would just be that there's more bodybuilding coaches who I would say have a more, I don't want to say, I don't know. Do I want to say health focus? Because I mean, bodybuilding in and of itself is inherently unhealthy, but I guess just coaches who are focused on keeping you as healthy as possible through a prep. And I think that is changing. I think that's something, especially like my coach, like David has grown so much since I first met him at a local show here in Atlanta. And that's pretty much what he is all about. And he also has a very individualized approach with each client. Whereas I feel like there's a lot of bodybuilding coaches who they kind of approach everybody the same, and like even women, they're just treated like smaller men in a way, and they're often like way just over cardioed, way over dieted. So I hope that we'll continue to see coaches who do prioritize that in their athletes, rather than coaches who just really want that overall win or that pro card win, to help their own portfolio in a selfish way. But they care about the athlete and they care about their longevity in the sport, because ultimately, if you barbecue somebody's health their first season or two, they may not be able to come back. And like for some women, if they end up with a really deep voice or lose hair, or just, any of those terrible side effects happen, they might not ever want to go back to competing. So I feel like that's something that's changing. So I don't want to say like I want this to change, but I hope it just continues to influence other people. And like John Jewett, I think, is another great like leader in this movement, if you will. And I feel like coaches are now starting to have responsibility and be like, you know what? No, it's not really great to prep right now. Like, we need to get health markers up. We need to get blood work better. We need to improve hormones. So I think it's best if we don't prep, instead of just saying, yeah, screw it. Like, let's just get that top 5 win. We'll deal with the rebound later, whatever it is. So I think just having that kind of, maybe not healthy, because none of it's ever going to be healthy, but let's be as healthy as possible, and let's make good decisions about when to step on stage and be a responsible coach. I hope that continues to influence the bodybuilding community.
That's a major reason that I still coach, is to help competitors and to try and take what I can for their health. Yeah, so I agree with everything you just said. People are going to probably listen to this and be like, well, bodybuilding's unhealthy, but natural bodybuilding is not so bad. But that's not true either. They're both extremes, and anytime you go extreme, it's unhealthy. Taking even the drugs out of it, just the sport in and of itself is unhealthy. Any competitive sport, any Olympic level sport, any professional sport, show me somebody that's not gotten injured, hurt, or killed because of that sport. It's just, anytime you try and be the top 1% of the top 1% in the world, there's some things that are going to be sacrificed along the way. If you're an enhanced competitor, even just getting big, no matter what your blood work looks like, no matter how much cardio you do, no matter how clean you eat, just being heavy, being 250 pounds is unhealthy. And for you natural people that think you're, well, I don't know. A lot of naturals think that they train harder. No, you don't. The hardest training natural in the world trains just as hard as the hardest training enhanced person. Everybody trains hard. You don't have to work harder as a natural. You both have to work hard. But the naturals, they don't get that chemical assistance. When their T3 starts to downregulate, when their testosterone for men starts to downregulate, women, same thing. They're not able to take it from an outside source. So they're literally a walking hormone deficiency as they're getting ready for stage. And that's not healthy. So there is no healthy aspect of this sport. And that's just the physical side. We don't even have the mental health to talk about. I think probably it might have been the chicken and the egg thing. Like, were bodybuilders unhealthy before they became bodybuilders, like mentally unhealthy? Probably. Do you think David Goggins would be able to run 100 miles without stopping if his dad didn't abuse him? Probably not. He has that to draw on for his energy. And I think a lot of bodybuilders come into this with mental health issues. It gets covered up for a long time. And I think probably as many bodybuilders are dying from suicide as from PED abuse. Anywho, all that to say, you're right. It's an unhealthy sport, but we can do things. We can get blood work done. We can do our cardio. We can eat a healthy diet. More plant-based is highly recommended by myself. We can use responsible dosages with PEDs, and we can take time off when needed, like you just said. I know your coach. I know David. I know he cares about his athletes. I know my coach, Justin Jacoby, he cares about his. He just pulled Antonio Burton out of the Olympia for this year because they needed to take time to focus on health. And I think that's a great precedent to set. The more we can take care of our athletes, the longer they can compete. And from a coaching standpoint, I don't think it makes any sense just to try and capture a win this year if that costs you your athlete, either the short or the long term. I've actually screwed myself out of a client. Actually, well, I mean, it just aligned. I had a client sign up and they wanted to compete this year, and I told them after looking at their blood work and where they're at physically and how long they had been in a caloric deficit prior, that there was no way in good conscience I could put them on stage this year, and they fired me. And you know what? If you're listening to this, I did what I felt was right in my heart. I didn't want to put you in a place where we were going to hurt you. And I'll do that every time. To me, I'll lose money. I'll lose clout on Instagram or whatever to pull an athlete out of a show versus potentially unnecessarily risking someone's health.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's what's important. I mean, I know for a lot of us, this is a career, this is a job, but you do have to do the right thing. And there's always going to be another client, another athlete. So if it's not the right time for someone, and I mean, really, I think also just being a good athlete, like you just have to, I don't know, you have to be willing to accept that too. So like my coach telling me it's not going to, it's not going to happen this year. Like 2024 is just not going to be your year because it's going to take 12 weeks to kill off this parasite. And then that leaves us with what, like 4 weeks? Like it's just not going to happen. So 2025, we're only going to get better. We're only going to do better in 2025. So let's just do that. And me as an athlete, like mentally, it was hard because it was like a double-edged sword. And one way I was like, God, this is such a relief because it's just one. I mean, you know how much pressure it is, you know how much work it is, how much money it is. And like to do that through the holidays and just like try to crash into a show by the end of the year, it was just going to be too much for me. But then another part of me was like, but am I failing? Like, am I quitting? Am I giving up because I'm backing out of this? Like, I know that sounds stupid because I mean, there's nothing I can do about getting a parasite, but at the same time, it feels that way. But having the honest feedback of someone who has worked with hundreds and hundreds of people and top level athletes telling me that, like, I can have affirmation that I made the right decision. And so I feel like if, a coach is being honest with you and saying, hey, you need a growth season, you need a health phase, you need, whatever, that's what you're really paying for. Like if you're just paying someone to put you on stage, then you're not really doing this because you love bodybuilding. Because if you love bodybuilding, if your bodybuilding coach says, hey, you need a growth season, then you should be excited to do your growth season. That should be fun for you. Like there's more to it than just getting on stage and going through prep. Like I think so many people get caught up in stepping on stage and it's really the whole lifestyle. So if you want to be successful and you really truly love the sport and the art of bodybuilding and the training and the diet and just all of it, then having to take that time off, it should still be fun to you. It should still be exciting because you're still working towards that goal. And that is really what is bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is really not as much about the prep as it is about the growth season, because none of us would be able to get on stage if we hadn't taken years and years to be off the stage,
100%. I think a lot of people that decide that they want to do bodybuilding, they start out and they think, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can be on stage in a year. And it's like they've maybe been lifting for a year at that point. This is a long time. Even for men's physique, it's going to take you naturally a couple of years to build enough muscle to be competitive. And kind of the same thing, even non-naturally. Even if you decide to go the non-natural route, now you're competing against guys that have potentially been lifting and using drugs for 10 years. Like that's a big mountain to climb and to be competitive in. For me as a coach, I really only like to have people on stage that are ready. And there's a lot of aspects to being ready. There's being mentally ready. Some people get nervous and things like that. Like they need to find ways to combat that. but physically having enough size, conditioning, being lean enough. And then also a lot of people overlook this with posing. Like posing is so huge. It's probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but probably the most overlooked aspect of this sport. Like can't even count the number of times that I've been at a show and seen somebody that has a good physique but doesn't know how to display it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like the Manions, they're always posting about that, and like Sandy and just all the judges, the top Olympia judges, they're always posting about how every national show there are people who have phenomenal physiques. They peak correctly, but they're outposed because they just don't know how to show off their physique, or they just don't have the confidence. So I mean, yeah, that's the thing about it is like, I mean, you could come in with a lot of muscle, look really good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do well. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to it. And I guess that's another thing I'd like to see more of from bodybuilding is more, I think, competitors being transparent. And I do feel like it's improving, like on social media and stuff, but and I feel like we're moving in that direction, but I hope we continue to move in that direction, because I know, like, for me, when I was going through all my stuff after my show, it kind of felt like I was the only one dealing with it. You know, it's just like people don't really talk about the other things that go on post show, like the post show blues or all the health issues. Like, I had no idea that competitors get gut issues all the time. Like, it's like a thing in bodybuilding. Like, that's why my coach has all these clients, is because like their coaches are going to him because their clients have gut issues. So it's like, I'm like, this is like a whole thing, and I didn't even realize it. And I mean, there's like crazy top people who are going through what I went through, but people don't really talk about that. Although I think it's getting better now with social media. I feel like people are more so sharing their stories and what they've overcome, and even like off season. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people who may not really show what their off season looks like. And so like you get into off season and you're like, is this right? Is this what I should be doing? Like, should I look like this? Like, I look terrible and all this stuff. And then I know I've seen other competitors in their off season. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not doing so bad. Like this person is an Olympian, and I mean, they're 20 pounds over stage weight and still doing their check-ins and whatnot. So, you know, so that's something I hope we can also continue to see in bodybuilding, especially from like the top people, is just that transparency of stuff that they struggle with too, because I feel like that's just really inspiring and helpful to know that like they're just human like the rest of us, and they go through all the same things, you know.
Yeah, I think prior to my first show, I was never very food focused, and anybody that knows me now knows that I'm food focused almost all day. Sometimes I fast just so that, like today, I didn't eat until after 1 o'clock, and it was mostly because I didn't have any meals prepped and I was behind on work, and I'm becoming a worse bodybuilder by the day, it feels like, because I'm prioritizing other things. But it allowed me to focus on getting work done up until time to eat. Now it's like 2:30. It's time to eat again. I'm like, damn, I'm hungry now. But I didn't have this eating disorder. I don't think I was so judgmental on my body. And I also didn't have to go on TRT because I hadn't ever dieted that low and that recklessly and irresponsibly, because I didn't want to get a coach, because I thought getting a coach was either cheating or taking the easy way out. I figured if I wasn't smart enough to figure it out on my own, I shouldn't be doing it. That was clearly a mistake. It led to, lifelong hormonal deficiency. So competing without knowledge of what the sport can do is big. And that's another reason why sometimes I lose clients, or don't sign clients. I tell them all of the inherent risks, the possibilities, what might happen, how difficult this will be. I tell everybody that wants to compete, this should be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. If it's not, you might be like David Goggins, that had gone through the most like horrible abuse possible as a child, or you just haven't done too many hard things, and this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. So I try to be transparent on that side. I try not to let people be surprised. It's often not what anybody expects. But yeah, so I try to be really transparent with all my clients because I don't want this to come as much of a shock. I think it will still be a bit of a shock either way, simply because you don't know what it's like to do that until you do it. I have like a little quote. I'm like, I can't walk you through hell, but I can hold your hand while you're walking through hell. And that's why even though I think I'm nearing the end of my competitive days, I still want to compete just so that I can have more to offer to my clients. It's definitely it's a perspective shift that you can't get unless you do it. I don't think anybody knows what it's like unless they've done it.
Yeah, you're really good about being transparent. I definitely need to be more transparent, but I do kind of understand in a way because everything that I went through, it was a real struggle. And sometimes it is hard to open up and share those things. And I guess for me, I just wanted to make sure that I was out of the woods before I came out and talked about it, because my biggest fear, but see, again, I thought for me, I felt like people were going to point the finger at me being vegan. And that was the last thing that I wanted, because that's everything that I believe in, everything that I fought for. So I just was very worried that was going to be an issue, was talking about, gut issues and all the stuff I went through with my hormones post show had very little to do with veganism, nothing with veganism at all, really, despite every doctor, lots of coaches telling me otherwise. Here I am now, finally moving in the right direction. Being vegan has literally nothing to do with getting a freaking parasite. So thank God I didn't listen to anybody.
I don't know. Maybe if you had eaten that egg, it would have killed the parasite. You never know because you never tried.
Damn it. Just one egg would have saved the day. Yeah. But so I do get it, because I definitely can understand why it can be really hard for people to open up and share, because I guess from for a bodybuilder, people would point the finger and then be like, well, why do you keep doing bodybuilding then? Why don't you stop bodybuilding? So, but then again, it's just that's just the internet, and people are going to have things to say about anything. So, but there's always somebody out there that's going to be inspired, and they're just going to feel a little bit more normal and not so alone, just because they know that they're not the only one going through it. And I think that's, pretty universal with post-show blues. Almost everybody goes through that. Health issues, some people are lucky, they don't really have that issue, but we almost all go through post-show blues. It's really exciting. And especially if you have a social media presence. I don't know about you, but when I competed, my engagement was just insane. And just my posts and just people sharing my stuff. My video, my Gilco production video, I still have on my page, still gets shared. So it is kind of hard. And I would imagine that a lot of the top bodybuilders who that's the main thing they do, unlike us, where we also have the vegan thing going for us, that is their main thing. And I can see why they feel a lot of pressure to constantly be in prep and be showing that exciting side that gets the engagement, that gets the likes. It's sad, but people truly do treat you differently. You walk into a gym and you're shredded and everybody's looking at you, and you just, it's kind of a mind game just to see how different people react to you. And it can be hard with our jobs, because you get addicted to that, and my best months I ever had were when I was competing. The 2 months that I did a show, I made my most money. So it's tough, because at the same time, it's God, I got to keep doing that, because that's what people like. That's what people want to see. But you can't always do that. It's unrealistic, because that would absolutely destroy you.
Yeah. I can't tell you the number of times I've had to talk clients out of doing another show. They'll be in their off season for 3 months. Oh, can I do another show? And it's why? You're going to at best do as well as you did last time. You don't take any time to grow. But you do bring a good point, the social media side. things are on fire when you're in prep. Yeah, it can be it's almost like social media is on easy mode for a little bit. Yeah. I took a lot of photos, and you can always post them later. A lot of the top people are doing that. Definitely, social media can be multifaceted for the sport because we can show the more transparent side. I get competitors all the time, though, checking out the other people that are going to be at the shows, checking out who won the year before, sending me photos like, oh, my God, can you believe how they look? And I'm like, you don't even know that's a real photo, dude. Like, that could be photoshopped, like, or the textures turned all the way up. Like, you never know. So don't psych yourself out of something. And just because they look like that 2 weeks out doesn't mean they don't blow it the next 2 weeks. So try to get people off from that train of mindset. Back to, like, for a couple more minutes, we could focus on the actual show or the sport, what we want to see changed. I think it would be cool, or at least beneficial, if they would explain the judging at every show. Like, 1 minute, explain. Okay, here's how it works. We have 5 judges, or we have 7 judges. We throw out the highest and the lowest score, just so you know. So people are like, oh, they paid off the head judge. Okay, well, if the head judge was in favor of you, that score is getting thrown out. If they were all the way the opposite, that score is getting thrown out. So they get rid of the most extreme scores for each athlete. And then I guess it's like golf. Like, you want to have the lowest score possible. If you get 7 1s, that's the best you could possibly do. If 3 judges give you a 1 and 4 judges give you a 2, you get rid of one of the 2s, you get rid of one of the 1s. You can add up the rest. Whoever has the lowest score is the winner. So I think even just what I said right there, that would clear up a lot of confusion for people. And then next, I think it would be important and cool if they could somehow give the scoring out, maybe even at the night show. Like, all right, in 3rd place with 74 points, we have Jose. And in 2nd place with 68 points, we have John. And then in 1st place with whatever, like, that way you could know, oh, it was 28-29. Wow, that was a freaking close one. Like, wow. Or it was like 28-74. Like, okay, yeah, they destroyed it, even though, like, they were 1st and 2nd. 1st really killed 2nd. So I think that would be cool. And I know you can go as an athlete later to go back and get that feedback, but to make it a little more entertaining for the audience and a little bit more transparent, it might be nice to show the scores.
I think that would be good, because I think that's I find that so often every bodybuilding show, like, every time I leave a bodybuilding show, there's always people who don't understand, like, what the hell just happened, like, what they just watched. Like, how did this person beat this person? And, well, this person was bigger, but, you know, this person was leaner. It's like, you know, people just they have no idea. And I mean, frankly, it's kind of like that at every show, and it's kind of inconsistent. I mean, sometimes it's like they're going for shape, like sometimes they're going for conditioning, sometimes it's size, like, you know, and then you go to different federations and it's completely different. Like, somebody who is too muscular in bikini and OCB may not be muscular enough in NPC. So it's kind of all over the place. So I definitely feel like if they could just even explain how they're getting scored, I think that would be helpful for the audience, but also for the athletes. And it would definitely be more interesting. And at least people would walk away, with like an idea of, oh, okay, well, that person only won by 1 point, so that kind of makes sense. Like, it must have just been, you know, like some sort of posing issue or something like that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion when people leave bodybuilding shows because the scoring is just so, like, ambiguous and inconsistent.
Yeah, I agree. I had a question, and then I forgot. Oh, what do you think about the NPC? A lot of people know the NPC, the National Physique Committee, and that's the amateur section of the IFBB, which is the International Federation of Bodybuilding. To the biggest 2 organizations, amateur and pro, in the United States. The NPC has now announced that they have an NPC Natural. What do you think about that, having a show or an organization that does both enhanced and natural competitors?
I think for NPC, it was a smart move for them, because, you know, they're probably gonna make a ton of money off of it. And I think that that's really what they were lacking. That was the biggest criticism against them, was that they didn't have a level playing field. So, I mean, they're just giving people what the public wanted. People wanted a level playing field. So NPC is like, all right, you got it. Here you go. Now, whether people want to support NPC, that's another thing. I think it's great. I think it's great that NPC is doing that. I think people should have, natural shows, exclusively natural shows that are with a very prestigious federation like NPC, because for some people that's important. They want to make sure that they're in a really good, legitimate federation versus something that, may just not hold as much water, when looking at like comparisons and who they're competing against, right? So I think it's a good thing. I'm glad that they did it, because I think I know a lot of natural competitors who love being natural, but they don't like the natural federations because they're not great shows, or the competition is not very good. And, they're just very dissatisfied with the production. So I think NPC will give those people an opportunity to have a better experience, but they still get that level playing field that they would have in like OCB, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably the worst feeling as a competitor, is to show up and be the only person in your class at that show. Like, nobody wants to win first just because nobody else showed up. Yeah, I think the NPC has done the right move. I do think they should offer a natural organization. I just think they're going to have to be extremely militant and very, very hard on the testing. Like, they're going to get one shot here. If they mess this up, people are probably going to jump ship. And people don't realize how easy it is to cheat at a natural show. I mean, they do, I believe, urine test the winners, but like, you could use drugs for 2 years and come off for 6 months and then compete against natural people, and there's going to be a huge difference there. So they do polygraphs, but I don't believe polygraphs. Like, they're not used in court, so why would we use them anywhere else? But last question, and this one's really controversial and one that I've recently run into with some of my clients. And I think you stand in a better spot to answer this than myself, because you are a woman. How do we feel, and I need to word this correctly, or what is the best way to separate and distinguish the sport for transgender athletes? Because I have had a client recently compete, and they are a woman, and they competed against an athlete that was born a man and now has transitioned and competes as a woman.
Wow.
How do we make this a level playing field? How do we make it equal for everyone and give everyone an opportunity and not discriminate against trans competitors, but also, in my eyes, I'll speak freely, even a man that has transitioned is still going to have, if nothing else, bone structure and the inherent capacity for more muscle than a woman. So do you have any thoughts there? This is a man speaking, but I'd like to have a woman's opinion.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what division was she in?
Well, without outing anyone, I'll just say figure.
Figure, okay. Yeah, because see, it's funny because well, it's not funny, it's actually really sad. But like I see all these women who are just getting like absolutely like barbecued in their sports. And I always think to myself, well, that could never happen in bodybuilding, because there's no way, like with bone structure, like a man is going to be able to compete in bikini and win. But there are some divisions like women's physique, for example, or even women's bodybuilding, where like you kind of walk that line, and it's like, I mean, they're also taking drugs and becoming more masculine. So it's like this kind of, it's hard with bodybuilding, especially in those divisions where they are more masculine. My honest thoughts, I would say, I think there should be some sort of transgender like division, just like how men can't compete against women. I think, transgender people, they should have their own category. So, I mean, if they want to do figure, there's like a transgender figure, and they can compete against each other.
I agree. I think it creates like a unique subsect, just the way men's physique is unique, women's physique is unique. men's bodybuilding is unique, women's bodybuilding is unique. And in this case, I do think that what you said was the best route. And I actually have been in talks with a potential client of mine, and that is the division that they would compete in a transgender division. And I'm really excited for that, because as a coach that does utilize PEDs with my clients, I don't push them, but I have clients that are going to use regardless. When I coach a man, they need to be trained with a typical, like you said earlier, like women are not little men. Men need to have their own training style. They need to have their own drug approach. Food, cardio, and all that needs to be tailored for that man. And same thing for a woman. If a woman is still trying to retain her femininity, retain her ability to have children, retain as little facial hair as possible, there's going to be drug protocols for that woman that keep her more feminine while still building muscle. But then we have, what if someone was born a man and transitioning to a woman, or born a woman and transitioning to a man? Now you have to have knowledge of, if I have a person that was born woman, transition to man, I'm going to need to train them as a woman physically. That's how their body's best going to respond. But then use drugs not the way I would in a woman in the same exact sense, because they are trying to be more manly and carry more muscle, like more typical of a man. So it's unique. It's very unique. Every competitor is always unique, but then this just brings it to another level. And so I'm personally excited to start working with some of those athletes and bridge that gap, and also offer them, I feel like, some compassion and understanding and kindness that we get with our vegan athletes. There's, for a long time, no space for vegans in bodybuilding. And now I feel like we get to make space for transgender athletes in bodybuilding. But I do think it makes more sense to put them in a division where they're equally matched against one another. And then there's no backlash. No, they won because of this, or they won because of that. Like, it's like they won because they were the best in their sport, in the correct division for them. So I hope I've been politically correct here. If I have not, please feel free to DM me and let me know. I am always trying to learn here, and there's a lot of new things coming out all the time as far as speaking politically correctly.
Yeah, I think that would just be the easiest thing to do. No-brainer thing, because like you said, I think that would eliminate a lot of conflict of people arguing back and forth. Oh, well, this is why they won, or whatever. Just give them their own division. I think maybe the only argument against that would just be that there wouldn't be that much competition, or it would be extra money, or I don't know, for the promoter. I don't really know how much it would be, but I would imagine that might be one of their excuses, is like, they may have to charge more or something.
Yeah, well, it's like there's a few vegan bodybuilding shows, just a few. You're probably gonna have to travel to do one, and it might take some time to get it off the ground. But the same was true for bodybuilding when it first got started. There weren't bodybuilding shows every weekend in every city. We had to grow this sport, and I think we should grow those divisions and cater to those individuals that want to compete. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, dude. I gotta go get meal number 2. I am starving. Well, I don't know. Anything else? Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I'll just say, I love bodybuilding. There are obviously things that I don't love about bodybuilding either, but I think as a whole, I think I'm at probably the best time to have entered bodybuilding, because things are really changing now, as far as just coaches taking care of their athletes. And, it is a great time to be a vegan getting into bodybuilding. So I think I think we have a really good future with bodybuilding. I think things are starting to trend in the right direction, where people are making better decisions, and they're not, ruining their health and their future in the sport in 1 or 2 seasons. And coaches are being more mindful of their athletes, and people are being more transparent. So I think in a lot of ways we're moving in the right direction, and I think it has like a really good future. I think there's a lot of potential for bodybuilding to just continue to get better, and to have better leaders and better examples and better athletes.
I agree, and I think it starts and has started with transparency, just being honest about what the sport takes, what it does to the clients, to the competitors, to the coaches. and sharing our journey. So thank you for being so transparent and sharing yours. And I always aim to do the best for myself as far as being open and honest about everything. So with that, y'all, that was another episode of the Vegans Who Lift podcast. Don't forget to go to veganswholift.com and drop us a question. We'd love to answer it live. And we will see you next week. Have the absolute best day ever. John Thomas, a.k.a. the Bodybuilding Vegan, and Brooke Sellers, a.k.a. Miss Meatless Muscle. We're out.